It's a common misconception that drinking 8 glasses of water a day is enough for healthy hydration. But sweat consists of water and sodium, which means you need water plus electrolytes to stay properly hydrated. Thankfully, there are products like Element that have all your electrolyte needs covered. You can try Element Recharge Sample Pack by going to drinkelement.com/speak for only the cost of shipping. Chill. Welcome to Speak For Yourself, delivered by Pizza Hut. I got to do my job first. Order today at pizzahut.com. Keep them up there. It's Marcel Swally with Nigerian's finest, Emmanuel Acho wearing his Ugos. Tell everybody what you're wearing right
I got my Giannis's on, my Greek freaks, but really they the Nigerian edition, because y'all know what's in his bloodstream where his parents were born and raised. You know what I'm saying? Giannis Antetokounmpo. It's okay, Marcel. It's okay. Shall we begin?
You taking us home, huh? Oh, I'm glad you gave those shoes from Sean, because that's the first time most of America's ever seen them. Anyway, let's get it started with the NBA Finals. Sorry, Giannis. But Giannis, boy, he put on one of the best performances you'll ever see in the NBA Finals. Finished with 50 points, 50 piece, 14 boards, and 5 blocks to help bring a title to Milwaukee for the first time in 50 years. There's that number again. Giannis was also named Finals MVP after averaging over 35 points per game in the series. So, Acho, take us home. Did Giannis, your guy, prove he's the best player in the world?
Giannis being his best has encouraged me to be my best. So I got to bring my best take in the first part of the show.
Well, let's go.
Giannis did prove he was and is the best player in the world, and I will simplify it for all of you. The NBA Finals contains 2 of the best teams. Thus, it contains 2 of the best coaches and some of the best players. Okay. If the best players on the Phoenix Suns roster, one of the best teams, playing at their best, could not stop an individual, then that means that the individual who beat the best, playing at their best, must be the best. Because the only way to beat the best at their best is if you are better than them. So what can be better than the best at their best? The best. I just simplified all this for all of y'all. Giannis is the best player in the world because he beat what should be the best team playing at their best. Stop the show. Are we done?
Are we?
Check. Can somebody
put your feet back up? Let's go. You know.
That's all that has to be said.
Nike's so happy right now.
And I look at it like this.
Man, please.
Giannis came out and played a better game than any player has played this season in the biggest game of any game this season.
Nice tweet. Yeah, you're right on that.
You feel me?
I feel that. I feel that.
I got so much, hopefully, intellectual jargon to try to manipulate you all's minds with. God. But the fact of the matter is, he played the best game of the season in the biggest game of the season. Best player in the world. Last thing on my first lap, because I could do the whole show on this conversation.
Hey, you're not by yourself. Let's go.
Last thing on my first lap is, I declared Kevin Durant the best player in the world after Game 5 of the conference semifinals, Eastern Conference. Why did I do that? I did that because at that point in time, I said that Kevin Durant did something that I don't think any other player could have done. He gave us 49, 17, and some change. I said nobody else could have done that. LeBron James couldn't have done it. He can't give you enough points right now, especially not at that point in health. Luka couldn't have done it because Luka in the fourth quarter, we saw how he begins to wane. I said nobody else could have done what Kevin Durant did, so he was the best player in the world. Well, after watching Giannis drop 50, 14 in a closeout game, a player has not dropped 50 points in a closeout game since 1958, since TVs were in black and white and our country was as well. Giannis dropped 50 in a closeout game. Nobody else in the league could have had 50, 14 plus 5 blocks. Plus 5 blocks. Best player in the world. There's no question.
Man, I couldn't pull this off what you pulling off right now. If I rooted for black people as much as you rooting for this Nigerian homeboy of yours, I'll be off the air immediately. But I ain't mad at it. Have your pride, big dog. Giannis looked amazing yesterday. But Giannis is not the best player in the world. And I'm not even going to argue with you. I'm not going to argue with you. Giannis is going to argue with you because Giannis saw the best player in the world. And remember when he said, Kevin Durant's the best player in the world. Simple as that. I don't know how he sounds, but he said those exact same words. When he was not looking in the mirror, he was looking face to face at what the best looks like. So individually, to answer this question, should I do what you did? Hey, is it over? I ain't got nothing else to do.
If you had KD's on, you could.
I know, I got on some old LeBron Adidas. Old LeBron Adidas. Let me say this. I got to take the man for his word. He already told me Kevin Durant's better than him. They saw each other. Kevin Durant outperformed him in that series. However, his team didn't outperform Giannis's team. Okay, but let's have some fun, because that's kind of boring if we just do that. And now, coming up in commercial. So let's talk about this. How much better Kevin Durant is than Giannis. Because you want to go team. I know how you try to move. You try to maneuver. You try to hide. If you beat the best when they're supposed to be the best, then you're the best.
I thought you said how much better Kevin Durant is than Giannis. I think this broke. I might need a new one of these.
It's broke? Oh, maybe what it's in is broke. Called your head, your brain, and your ears, and that wax. Phoenix wasn't the best team this year. First of all, they weren't even the number one seed. Were they the number one seed in the West Conference? They weren't the best team. They weren't their best version of themselves in the finals. I give a lot of that credit, if not all, to Giannis and the Bucks for making them look less than they were. But they were never declared the best. We're going to get into this, but let's talk about Phoenix in December 22nd, when the season started. Remember that day when you were saying Phoenix is going to be in the finals? Oh, no, you didn't say that. They got Chris Paul and Phoenix, a non-playoff team. What is Phoenix going to become? Remember those days. We'll talk about that later. But let's get back to the question. Giannis, you improved jack in this conversation of best player in the world. Why? Because Kevin Durant still exists. KD career playoff averages 29.5 points per game. What about you, Giannis? 26. Let's talk about your regular season averages. Because I ain't going to just go score, because I know where you like to go and push me. 27. What is Giannis? Barely over 20. Oh, okay, forget all that. Let's talk about right now, because this is what we're talking about in the postseason. Damn, Giannis. You weren't even a top 5 scorer in the postseason. Where were you? Kevin Durant was second, and he got exited earlier than you. Damn, Giannis. How about steals per game? Giannis, you know he out there always with his athleticism. Damn, KD had more steals per game than you. What about three-pointers? Yep, KD. What about free throws? Yep, KD. Let's talk about everything, KD. Oh, my God, this is insane. Blocks per game. Blocks? Giannis, Mr. A. KD blocks more per game than even Giannis. So on my first lap, just to save some ammunition, because I know you're going to fire back, I don't see why we should believe you over Giannis, who told me KD's the best player in the world, because he actually is.
You know your opponent has lost an argument when you smile through all of their conjecture. The best players this league has ever seen, I will name a few of them. Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Magic Johnson, Shaquille O'Neal. Some of the best players our league, the NBA, has ever seen.
I got you.
The best players the league has ever seen at their best, in the most pivotal moments, all got outplayed by Giannis at his best in the most pivotal moment.
Like who?
We have a full screen to back it up, because closeout games in the NBA Finals, the biggest moment of the best player's career. LeBron's best closeout game in the finals, he gave you 41 and 13. Phenomenal. Shaq, he gave you 41 and 12. So impressive. Michael Jordan, game 6, 98 against the Jazz. He gave you 45 and 1. Still amazing. Steal, Karl Malone, bucket, push off, not push off, who knows? Magic Johnson, 42 and 15, 1980. Had to replace Kareem, if I'm not mistaken. Started at the center position. Amazing. The best players, those were their best performances. But above all of those, you see one, Giannis. Ugo, 50 and 14. So, what? If Giannis last night, most recently, played better than the best players this game has ever seen at their best, it would not be idiotic, because I'm not going to imply that you're an idiot. I wouldn't do that to you.
You just said it twice.
It would not be imbecilic, because I'm not going to imply that you're an imbecile. I wouldn't do that to you. It would not be stupid, because I'm not going to imply that you're stupid. I wouldn't do that to you. But it would surely be asinine. It would surely be asinine to say that Giannis, who outplayed the best players the game has ever seen at their best, isn't better than anybody else currently playing.
Man, stop this. I told you, you're so poetic with your wordsmith. I understand how you manipulate the English language. But since you saved your best for last, Giannis, doesn't mean you're the best in totality. He saved his best for last. Closeout game. I respect that. But don't act like the entire race, he was the best in this conversation. If you're rooting for him, which I know you are, you got on the shoes, all you're going to do is expose yourself. Like, it literally left his lips that someone's better than him. But you're going to make an argument that he was lying to himself.
But we know that means nothing.
No, we know that means everything because no one ever does that. We even have Stacks on here like, man, you can't admit that dude. You know how Stacks talk in that shoe closet. Oh, it's foggy. He's like, man, you can't let no other dude know that you're better than you. And I was like, yeah, you can if he is. And you were arguing with Stacks. Giannis already answered this conversation in this question. He survived the war of attrition the greatest. That's all he did this year. And that needs to be commended. That needs to be fully respected. But don't act like he didn't see somebody who was better than him. I don't have a full screen. I let my words do the speaking. Giannis saw Kevin Durant in the Eastern Conference semis. 35 points versus 31. Rebounds, Giannis got him by 2. He should have him by more. Assists, damn. KD got more assists, and he got a better point guard? Whatever. Field goal percentage, Giannis should beat him, and he did because he's bigger, and he stays in the paint more because he's limited. But then three-point percentage, free throw percentage, steals, and blocks, KD, baby. Man, Kevin Durant's just better than Giannis. Now, imagine, as you always used to do, you stopped doing this. Early in our show, you used to do this. Imagine if KD was on the Milwaukee Bucks. Oh, my God. It wouldn't even be a conversation. Imagine KD had some help when he saw Giannis. Oh, my God, it wouldn't have been a conversation. Matter of fact, it wasn't. They were up 2-0, and then we saw Kyrie go down in the third game. James Harden in and out with the hamstring. The point being, I'm not even trying to have an argument. I'm trying to hear an argument that tells me that Giannis is better than KD. Ask Jay Williams. Oh, we can't. No, wrong network. Don't say that. Jay Williams already spilled the beans on this one. KD said, don't compare me to that dude because he's not compared to me.
So oftentimes, I've done this. I don't know about you, but I feel like you've done this as well. I might say somebody better than me.
Who?
No, not necessarily true. I'm just trying to be humble. But even if I'm not trying to be humble,
fake humility.
I wasn't lying. I was telling my truth in the moment. Giannis may not have been lying.
Okay.
In that moment, Kevin Durant might have been a better player than Giannis. But in this moment, on Wednesday, July 21st of 2021, Giannis is a better player than KD. We keep saying that KD didn't have no help. Harden gave KD 22 points in Game 7.
He was hamstrung with a hamstring.
And whatever he was, he gave him 22 points. Meanwhile, Jrue Holiday was 4 for 19 yesterday, 12 points. Chris Middleton was 6 for 13 yesterday, 17 points.
That's
Giannis
one game. I
was
said
16
series.
of 25.
I said
okay,
series.
great. You did say series.
Yeah,
You're right. It's my mistake. KD had 35 points in a more meaningless series than Giannis had 35 points in a more meaningful series. So if I were actually going to contort this, which I'm going to do, I'm just going to...
What do you mean, actually?
All I'm going to do is I'm going to call my punch and then I'm still going to throw it and watch it land. I would say this. Giannis was calculated enough to be able to do less and still beat KD, then reserve enough to do more and win a chip while KD's been at home for roughly a month and change right now. Sir, I'm not going to slight Kevin Durant's greatness on the court. I'm not going to do that. But what KD did in a semifinal, Giannis just did in an NBA Finals. And you comparing apples to oranges, big dog. KD did great in semis, but Giannis did that and more in a bigger game. Big-time players, big-time plays, big-time games. There's no bigger-time player than Giannis Antetokounmpo.
What? And you forget about KD. I understand why you forget because you're a prisoner in the moment right now because Giannis played last night. And like you said, KD hasn't played in a month. But I saw KD go through a finals, and I saw KD go for 30-plus points, like Giannis, with a 50-40-90 shooting split that no one else has ever done. Oh, good for him. You want to do that? Oh, we want to do the slight game?
Finals?
We want to do the slight game. The entire playoffs in 2019. Oh, even better. He did it all the way through. Anyway.
When he got hurt and he didn't finish?
Well, let him live.
I just wondering, because Giannis got hurt and he came back.
Boy, I done had a torn Achilles and I'm saying. Hyperextended knee. You want to play this game?
Small sample size, sir.
You want more? Okay. KD has 14 career playoff games of 40 points. Only second to one person, and his name ain't Giannis. KD has the second most 30-point playoff game, and it ain't second to Giannis. KD has 2 championships. Two. How many Giannis got? One. 2 Finals MVP. How many Giannis got? One. I'm not trying to slight Giannis. I'm just listening to Giannis. Won't you listen to Giannis? You understand him? He said KD's better. Why are you up here trying to champion for him?
So, I may be a prisoner of the moment, but you're a prisoner of offense and scoring alone. I don't know why. You're a defender.
Oh, you don't know why?
You're a defender, but
you know who wins the game? The one with the most points. That's why I'm...
What stops you from scoring points? I don't know.
Missing
5
shots.
blocks. Or blocking
KD
shots.
gets more blocks than him.
The last time KD had 5 blocks in a game was 2018, sir.
I don't give a damn because he does it
February 21st.
Better averages.
In a regular season. Stop talking to me about these meaningless or less meaningful accomplishments. KD averaged 35 points in a series, a semifinal series in which he lost. He lost to the current best player in the world. Giannis gave you 35 points. He gave you 50 points last night. When the last time KD scored 50 in NBA Finals? I'll wait.
Why
I'm
you
gonna
guys
be waiting for a while.
When the last time Giannis won 2? I'll wait a while because it ain't happening next year. It ain't happening for a minute. Dog, KD is 3rd all time in the scorers list in the playoffs in history. Giannis ain't on the list, brother. It's okay when you first get your... This is us.
Compare apples to apples.
I'm gonna compare us fruit to
Go
fruit.
ahead.
I've been here,
You
dog.
have.
I've been here.
Yes, sir.
I've been in the game for 2 decades talking this. Then I played a decade.
You did?
That's 3 decades of doing
That's facts.
this. Yeah, I told you just got here.
I did.
And I admit, you kind of like Giannis. Damn, what is he up to? This boy is killing it. But don't forget about the equity and the longevity of
here
a
he goes,
KD,
America.
baby. Gotta bring that work. You microwave mentality monster. That's who you are. You got to give all of Giannis's credit, and you have to spread it out too much, too often. He did it this year. What happened last year? What happened the year before? What happened the year before?
So,
he came up short.
But here's the thing. The question is not who has had the better career.
Okay.
If you ask me...
Who's the best player?
Who's had the better career? KD's had the better career.
Who's the best player?
He's also been in the league longer.
What about who's the best player?
Giannis.
Giannis said it wasn't him. Why are you saying it is?
Because Giannis came out there and said, if I focused on the present, that's my pride. If I focus on the past, that's my ego. If I focus on right here and right now, that's humility. Giannis focuses on humility. KD focuses on pride and ego.
KD didn't say anything.
Now, KD a beast, but we have reports of KD going to reporters in private saying, don't ever compare me to so-and-so. We don't have reports of Giannis doing that.
Because he can't be compared to him. He better not say that.
We have reports of Giannis this morning asking, please and thank you to Chick-fil-A people at the window so he can record them on Instagram Live. That's Giannis. That is the Giannis. Giannis is humble. Of course he's going to say somebody better than him. Of course.
You just said that you have been humble in a moment and it was false humility.
Yes, sir.
How you know it ain't the same with Giannis then in terms of going to Chick-fil-A? It better not be a Sunday because it's closed.
I agree it is false humility.
Okay, so which one is it? Is he being real or is he being fake? If he's being fake, then we got a whole nother conversation about you guys.
Let's have that conversation.
Oh, yeah. Let's have a fake conversation. Giannis is better than KD. That's a fake conversation. The real one is that I don't understand your lack of respect for your own brethren from University of Texas.
KD's best game in the playoffs was his 49-17 game. Giannis's best game in the playoffs was better than KD's best game in the playoffs, and it was in a bigger game than KD's game in the playoffs.
Has he had more?
Here ends the lesson.
Has he had more of them? It's okay, Acho. You just showed me that you would pick your pride of your nation over your school's pride. Oh, I'm telling UT on you. And KD, come get him. Snipe him up, easy money. Coming up, Chris Paul fell short on winning his first NBA title. I don't know why you don't listen to Giannis. He said it. We'll tell you what the biggest disappointment was for the Suns. But first, Giannis threw some shade. Here we go. At super teams last night. Where that humility at, Acho? We'll tell you if his title with the Bucks means more. Next on Speak for Yourself. Oh, I got something on this one. Getting recommendations from your friends for that perfect diet might be a big waste of time. The real answer is already within you, your genes. What are the best foods based on your DNA? What foods have the nutrients that you need? How quickly do you metabolize caffeine and alcohol? Don't guess. Use the code Speak for Yourself for $20 off a Geno Palette DNA kit. Find out how to eat for your genes.
Let's get back to Milwaukee. Giannis won his first NBA title last night, and he did it with the team that drafted him 8 years ago. Now, after the game, Giannis threw some shade, if you will, at super teams while talking about not leaving Milwaukee. Y'all take a listen.
Coming back, I was like, this is my city. You know, they trust me, they believed in me, they believed in us. Even when we were lost, the city still was like on our side. And, you know, obviously I wanted to get the job done. You know, but that's my stubborn side. Like, it's easy to go somewhere and go and win a championship with somebody else. It's easy. I could go, I don't want to put anybody in the spot, but I could go to a super team and, just do my part and win a championship, still won. But this is the hard way to do it, and this is the way. And we did it. We did it, man.
Awkward.
Yes, you did, Giannis.
Awkward.
Ain't awkward to me, big dog. Get it. Joined now by NBA analyst Ric Bucher. Vassell.
Yes.
Does Giannis's title with the Bucks mean more?
No. Doesn't mean more. It means more to him, but it doesn't mean more in terms of a ring, because all rings aren't created equal. That's right, what they say, but they all represent the same thing. You are a champion. I saw your face. You thought you had me there. I'm starting to see through this false humility of Giannis. I'm starting to see it. It first hit me after the game. I was like, I know I'm going to get one of those epic moments from Giannis. Anything is possible. We did it, Milwaukee. Instead, I just saw him say, get away from me. Get away from me. Shoo. Where's a chair on the corner, on the edge by myself, and let me just sit there by myself. I thought this was for the city. I thought this was for the team. And it took you that long to go shine with the rest of them? Interesting. Now, why do I say all of that? Because now he's trying to give me this mental equation that his ring means more. You know what the flip of that is? That others' rings mean less. I dare you to walk up to Kawhi Leonard, who went to Toronto, a team, an organization that had never won a championship, and in 1 year took them to a championship. I dare you to walk up to Kawhi and tell him that his ring means less because he didn't win it with the team that drafted him. I dare you to walk up to Shaquille O'Neal and tell him that, back-to-back rings with the Lakers don't mean jack because you didn't win it with Orlando. Oh, I dare you to walk up to AD and then say, AD, oh man, that Lakers ring don't mean jack because you didn't win it in New Orleans where you were stuck in mediocrity, I say. So here's the thing, Giannis, I love you, big dog, but you better be real and authentic on what you're trying to portray in this persona, because I'm starting to see some cracks in it. Your ring doesn't mean more to anybody but you. But please don't try to project that to others.
Firstly, I was having this conversation off camera. We can have it on. I'll be trying to tell y'all. Everybody says Giannis is likable. The second cats start winning, the haters come out. And I'm looking at one right now in Mars.
Why you wanna play a hate on me?
Giannis's ring means more in figure of speech. Obviously, all rings mean the same thing. However, when you gotta work harder for something, then that something does mean more. Sel, I know players who have auctioned off their Super Bowl rings. I could go on eBay right now and probably buy a Super Bowl ring, $100,000, $103,000 the last time I checked. It would mean the same thing as Tom Brady's Super Bowl ring with the Buccaneers or one of his other 6 Super Bowl rings. Sure, it's a Super Bowl ring. But the work you put in to achieve something typically dictates the meaning of that thing. I've used this analogy without you on the show, Slick, but since you're here, I'll use it with you. I've bought a home that was brand new. I've bought a home from somebody else, and I've bought a home that I've had to see get built over the course of time, not all at once. They all mean the same thing. Emmanuel Acho is a homeowner. But ask me how I felt about the house that I had to pick out the marble and pick out the countertops, the house in which I saw them put the paint in, the house in which I saw them lay the foundation. That meant a little bit more to me than the home in which I just went and purchased from somebody else. Why? Because I saw it from the beginning. Yes, of course, I'm a homeowner as a homeowner as a homeowner. If you own a home, you're a homeowner. But it means a little bit different when you were there at the beginning. So when Giannis says it means more, it does mean more because he was there at the beginning. I saw this as a tweet. I looked it up. Giannis and Chris Middleton were the 2 lowest rated players in NBA 2K in 2014. And now look at them, champions. Look at what Giannis said in 2014 when he was the lowest rated player. I'll never leave the team and the city of Milwaukee till we build the team to a championship level. He said that over 7 years ago, and now he's an NBA champion. That means more than showing up and in 1 year with the team that already has a foundation, getting a ring. This title does mean more.
This is the beauty of incomplete sentences. I feel like this is a Twitter beef where you only have 280 characters or 240 characters, and so people can't complete their thoughts. It means more. Yes, it means more to Giannis Antetokounmpo. Does it mean more than any other championship? No, it doesn't mean more than the Golden State Warriors' first championship. For Steph Curry or Klay Thompson or Draymond Green, those were all homegrown guys who started with that franchise, went through the struggles, and then ultimately climbed to the top of the mountain. I say the first championship. San Antonio's championships with Tim Duncan and David Robinson. Does this mean more than those? Small market, didn't drafted their talent? No, it doesn't. It doesn't mean more. Does it mean that Zion Williamson now believes that he can win a championship in New Orleans and is not going to stay? Or is it going to stay? No, it doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that Damian Lillard isn't going to leave Portland if things don't go the way he hopes they do with the Blazers. No. So the significance of it in a historic perspective, there's nothing special or unique here. But to Giannis, because he had the choice to leave, and he didn't know whether he could accomplish this in Milwaukee or not, and ultimately stuck with it and got it done, then yes, it means more to him. But it matters how you answer the last part of that sentence to determine what it means.
Thank you. It meant more to you, Giannis. That's it. Not more to us, not more to other champions out there. Simple as that. This is a value conversation. Everybody has something that they think is more valuable than others do. Yeah, of course that. I had some Star Wars sheets. I finally had to get rid of them when I graduated college. But I took them to college. Yes, my childhood Star Wars sheets. Yeah, I had a lot of explaining to do my freshman year to people. Why the hell you got these dusty, crusty Star Wars sheets? Because they were valuable to me. But I understood where everyone else was coming from. Man, what the hell are you doing? So, Giannis, you can't tell other people how to value what you value. Just tell us how valuable it is to you and leave it at that. Miss me with the folklore, because now you're trying to create story and narrative of how your ring is harder. Harder? You only answer that question, but other teams and other players have struggled to get their rings as well. Harder? When LeBron was sitting there in Cleveland and he couldn't get a ring, he went to the finals and then had to leave and go to Miami, and then in the first year still didn't win that ring, and then he finally gets one. Not in the place where he was drafted. Another team, another organization. You trying to tell me that that wasn't hard? You trying to tell me that your path was harder? Interesting, because we get into this value conversation. You just paid for a championship. That does not work. If so, the Brooklyn Nets would be champions right now, but they're not, because other variables are at play. Man, I'm looking at Kevin Durant, two-time MVP in the finals, two-time champion. You trying to tell me his rings don't mean as much as yours? Kevin Garnett, let's go back to when he was stuck and he couldn't get out of Minnesota. Finally, he got his opportunity, got his ring. My dad said it best, man. Like anything, it's about your opportunities. So championships to me are like your opportunities. It's like the days you have. It's what you make of it. Hey, whatever you want to make this ring sound like to you, Giannis, go ahead. No one's in your way. It's just when you try to intrude and tell us how we need to look at that same ring is when we have a problem.
Giannis, I don't think, is intruding, and Giannis's ring was harder to come by, because if it wasn't harder, then why would people quit?
Who quit?
LeBron James left, right? To quit is to get rid of. Okay, so LeBron James got rid of being a member of the Cleveland Cavaliers to go to Miami. Why? Because it was too hard to win a ring there with that construction and with that roster as it was at that point in time. He got beat by the Magic, got beat by the Celtics, so he got rid of Cleveland and went to Miami. Kevin Durant, he got rid of, translation for to quit, he got rid of the Thunder because it was too hard for him to win a ring there. He got beat by the Warriors after being up 3-1, so he said, you know what, I'm going to go to Golden State, the best team record-wise the year before, and join them. But Giannis, my brother Giannis, he didn't quit being in Milwaukee, because if we're being real, Giannis's ring was the hardest to acquire because he had to stick it through. His first year in Milwaukee, they won 15 games total. This year, they won 16 games in the playoffs en route to being a champion. So this ring does mean more because this ring was harder to acquire. And how do we know it was harder to acquire? Because other superstars have quit or gotten rid of their previous destinations. And you only quit something that's difficult.
So you are not winning an Emmy for this argument. I'll tell you that right now.
I don't need to.
All you're doing is changing the question.
What's the question, Slick?
Does his champion, now you're saying, does his championship mean more than LeBron's championships in Miami or KD's championships in Golden State? You're specializing.
Yes. Slick, let's go here. Let's go here. Real pause. Because Slick, if you ask LeBron, and I think LeBron has said this prior, and if you know LeBron, and you know LeBron, you've covered him for years, I would venture to say that his championship in Cleveland means more than his second ring in Miami. And I think he would venture to say that as well. So we do know that rings can mean more. Yes, a ring is a ring is a ring, and LeBron has 4 of them. But I would venture to say his one in Cleveland means the most, and his one in Miami, his first one means the second most, and then Lakers, and then the other one in Miami. So rings can mean more. So if one of LeBron's rings mean more than his other ring, then I can say that Giannis's rings do ring more as well.
To who? But to who? It means more to LeBron. Just like the ring, this ring, winning it in Milwaukee means more to Giannis. But does Giannis's ring in Milwaukee mean more than the rings in Golden State to KD? No. I agree with you from this perspective. The way Giannis went about it and winning in Milwaukee means more, and in my perspective, because of how he did it. He stuck it out. He stayed there. Same as Kobe staying with the Lakers, going through the struggles. Thought about going to Chicago. Said, you know what? No, I'm going to stay here. Ended up winning 2 more rings. That meant more than just hop skipping around and going to super teams. But again, in the big picture, to suggest this means more than any other championship ever won, I can't go there because of the examples that I cited. And by the way, let's not look at Milwaukee as just a mom and pop shop, okay? Because they had 2 billionaire owners buy the franchise. They had them build a new arena. They traded for Drew Holiday and PJ Tucker and mortgaged their future essentially to get those 2 players. So it's not as if this was just some wheelbarrow that nobody has ever been able to move and turn into a racehorse. They had some other elements that came in that changed the dynamic for Milwaukee and what it has been as a small market. But bottom line, it means more to Giannis because of the decision he made to stay. But in the historical perspective, I can give you at least a half a dozen championships that were won the same way by guys doing the same thing. And that's why I can't say it means more than any other championship.
Thank you. Let's stay in Milwaukee, but let's go back to the future. Let's go back in time, 50 years ago when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar won a ring in Milwaukee and then whispered to him quietly, can I get up out of here, please, so I could go win 5 rings in L.A. You gonna tell me that those 5 rings in L.A. don't mean the same as the one he won in Milwaukee? No, stop that, Acho. Linus, as I used to say growing up, that's your blanket. Nobody give a damn about that blanket but you, Linus. And that's what, it's funny that Giannis is trying to make us care about his blanket. Nobody give a damn. Acho, you want to say that quitting means get rid of and try to give it only the negative connotation. You only quit what's difficult is a quote I think you said. Or sometimes you quit what's not worth it, or you quit sometimes because you don't think that you will reach your actual destination with those around you. So I ask you, Acho, why you quit the other network? Why are you still single? All the relationships you quit. No, let me stop. I could keep going. Deion Sanders is mad at you right now because he didn't win in Atlanta, but he went to San Fran, Dallas, and those rings don't mean anything. Steve Young can look at you, too, from Tampa. I'm going to leave that alone, Acho, but you better stop with that quit negative connotation. Sometimes it come back to bite you. Coming up, The Suns' title run is over. We'll tell you exactly what the biggest disappointment was for Phoenix. Oh, this is going to get spicy. That's next with that 8K camera. I see you.
Technically, the other network put me.
They broke up. The most anticipated reunion of the summer is here. Oh, yes. John Cena returns home to SmackDown. Summer of Cena on Friday night. SmackDown, 8 Eastern, only on Fox. Shanks, hook me up. And the Suns and Bucks were tied at the end of the third quarter. But it was all Milwaukee in the fourth. Devin Booker only made 2 shots, and Chris Paul did not have an assist in the quarter. Phoenix lost their 4th straight game, and CP3 was denied his first NBA title. After the game, he was asked, quote, "How do you feel?" I'm guessing not happy. Take a listen.
I feel like we just lost. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it'll take a while to process this or whatnot, but it's the same mentality. Get back to work. You know what I mean? I ain't retiring, if that's what you're asking. That's out. So, back to work.
Slick Rick is back, but Acho, what's the biggest disappointment for the Suns?
There are several. But you asked me the biggest. The biggest is Chris Paul. And it's not that Chris Paul played poorly. He did not. You would have to be a lunatic or a casual to think that Chris Paul played poorly. That's not the issue. Okay. The disappointment is, Chris Paul, you waited 16 years for this moment. The disappointment is, Chris Paul, we waited 16 years with you for this moment. The disappointment is, Chris Paul, you were up 2-0 in this series, and yet you didn't get the job done. Chris Paul's the biggest disappointment to me because, yes, he played better, but he allowed the other team's best player to improve at a greater proportion than he improved. Chris Paul, it wasn't about being better than your former self. It wasn't about having a better finals than a postseason and having a better postseason than a regular season. It was having a better finals than whoever the heck else was on the court with you. And you didn't. It was also about emptying the chamber. When you play in a high-level game, my coaches told me in the NFL or in college, just empty the clip. Figuratively speaking, leave everything you can on the court. Chris Paul, why'd you play 39 minutes? Why'd Jay Crowder play more minutes than you? Why'd Devin Booker play more minutes than you? Why'd Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, and Giannis play more minutes than you? There isn't another game. That's it. Season's over. Game's over. I was just as disappointed, if y'all recall, LeBron James against Devin Booker. Last game, Game 6, Lakers versus the Suns. Devin Booker played 46 minutes. LeBron played 41. Booker dropped 47. LeBron dropped 29. That's it. The season's over. You got nothing left to save. Leave it all out there. Get carried off the court. Paul Pierce, wheelchair, no bathroom excuse. All of it. So I'm not disappointed because Chris Paul played bad. He didn't play bad. But when you wait 16 years for a moment and it may never come again, I have to see your best be better than anyone else's best, particularly if going into that game, you're the Hall of Famer. Going into that game, you're the top 5 player at your position, arguably. Going into that game, you're the best player historically. And you didn't come out of that game in the same way or in the same manner. For me, huge letdown.
I am not disappointed in anything about the Suns because for me to be disappointed, I would have to have an expectation of something that ultimately did not happen. Am I disappointed that, or did I not expect Chris Paul at age 36 to wear down as the series went on once the attention was focused on him? That's not a surprise. Devin Booker playing emotionally and allowing that to cloud his judgment and therefore not playing smart basketball. Did that surprise me? No, it did not. DeAndre Ayton having great series up until now he's matched up against Giannis Antetokounmpo, a riddle that he could not find the answer for. Am I surprised by that? No, I am surprised that, or was surprised, that the Phoenix Suns actually made it to the NBA Finals. That was the big surprise. That's not what I expected. So they exceeded my expectations for a team that had not been to the playoffs in a decade, with a point guard at 36 years old who had never been able to stay healthy enough to get all the way to the finals. So there's nothing that happened with the Phoenix Suns in this finals or in this year that I look at and say, I'm disappointed in the – how can I be? I can't be disappointed in the Phoenix Suns for doing something that Chris Paul had never done before and the Phoenix Suns hadn't done since 1993.
Say it again. I'm echoing what you're saying, Slick Rick over there. I don't have a disappointment because they overachieved. Go back to December 22nd when you saw Chris Paul in the first game for the Phoenix Suns, a non-playoff team. Were you thinking it was going to end like this? Did you think it was going to end in the finals in the Game 6? No, not at all. So we will not penalize this team for the other team living out a fairy tale, living out their dreams and winning, and Milwaukee finally getting their championship. Both things can be true. Milwaukee, you went out there and won a championship. And hey, Phoenix, you guys overachieved. Good building block towards your future. I need to see my boy Acho, because imagine you and I got this proposition, let's say 5 years ago or something. Hey, you get to race Usain Bolt in one of those celebrity matchups. What? And I'm like, yes, I'll race Usain Bolt. I ain't scared. I know I'm going to lose. But guess what? Even in a loss, what if I PR? Even in a loss, what if I do my best? Then what you gonna sit there after the race? Man, you lost to Usain Bolt. Man, you sorry. I'm disappointed in you. You gonna say, nah, bro, you did your thing, even though you got smoked. So that's what happens, DK Metcalf. So the point is, I'm looking at this situation the same way. We're looking at the Suns who won 51 games this year. That's almost as much as they've won in the 2 seasons prior. Combined 54 wins. So you just gave some credit to Giannis and the Bucks because their first game, they only won 15 games. First year, they won 15 games. And then this year in the playoffs alone, they win 16. Well, make it make sense. Give Phoenix the same kind of respect you gave the climb and the road and the journey for the Milwaukee Bucks. A team that missed the playoffs 10 straight seasons before this year, the Phoenix Suns, and now you're going to sit there high on a horse and be disappointed? Not me. I expected this.
All of what you all are saying makes sense and sounds good without context.
Okay.
But within the context, doesn't sound nearly as good. First things first is, Sal, there's a huge discrepancy, I would assume, between your speed and Usain Bolt's speed. Yeah, so even if you run a personal best and he still beats you, no, I will not be disappointed because you were not supposed to win. Remember, the Phoenix Suns were the favorites going into this matchup. The favorites lost. The favorites also were up 2-0. So that's where I would draw a disconnect. Slick Rick, I would also propose that, of course, I wouldn't anticipate the Suns being in the finals. But, Slick, had I told you Anthony Davis would get hurt in the first round, Kawhi Leonard would tear his ACL, Jamal Murray would not be present, you would probably say, you know what? I could see the Suns coming out the West. Context matters. So after hearing all of those things or witnessing all of those things, then it's not a surprise. The Suns didn't overachieve. The Suns achieved accurately. AD was hurt. Kawhi was hurt. With all those players being gone, the Suns should show up there. But why I'm disappointed is it was theirs for the taking, Slick. You up 2-0. You're up 2-0. Y'all had to win 2 games before the Bucks could win 4. That was it. That was the proposition. By game 3, Suns, you need to win 2. They need to win 4. That's it. That's the deal. Take it or leave it. The other thing is, and I'm saving this for later, but I got to give it to you now, Slick. I think you'll enjoy this one, Sel. You as well.
Let's go.
Michael Jordan is 5th all-time in NBA history in scoring. Chris Paul is 5th all-time in NBA history in assists. That means that Chris Paul is as good at assisting, passing the basketball, as Jordan was scoring the basketball. The last time Jordan was in an NBA Finals, Game 6, 98, he had 45 points, the 3rd most all-time in a closeout game of the finals. So what Jordan did best, he did at his best, and the 3rd best in history in the most pivotal moment. Chris Paul, you are as good as Jordan passing the ball. So in your most pivotal moment, your closeout game of your NBA Finals, I need to see something that is equivalent to the 3rd most of all time in that category. And yet you didn't have the most assists on your team. Drew Holiday also had more assists than you on another team. Chris Middleton had more assists than you on the other team. You didn't have the most assists on the court. So I'm disappointed because, no, Chris Paul, I didn't need you to score 55. Didn't need you to score 60. But what do you do well? What do you do better than just about anybody else in the history of the NBA? You pass the ball. So at a minimum, you could have at least done that greater than everybody else. And you didn't even do that greater. So yes, Slick, that's why your boy's disappointed.
Yeah, I love you, Acho, because your arguments are just sometimes they're just entertaining in and of themselves. The idea that being the 5th best in assists or having the 5th most assists now means you're equal to the guy who's 5th in scoring.
In your category. In your category, Slick. For example, if Giannis was the 5th all-time in boards, then I would expect him to lead both teams in rebounds. If Chris Paul's the 5th all-time in assists, I would hope he would lead both teams in assists. It's just kind of as Jordan was 5th all-time in scoring, and he led just about every playoff series in scoring. 37 out of 38 series, he led in scoring of all time. I would just hope that you would do those things.
But there are so many ancillary factors when it comes to I'm going to be the scorer. That's completely within my hands. If I am an assist maker, that's a 2-man operation. I'm relying on other people ultimately to make shots as well, and those matchups to work in my favor. And so I look at this in totality. And you're right. In terms of the path that the Phoenix Suns had in order to get there, did things change as a result of players being missed? Yes, there was the opening there for them. And so them getting there wasn't the surprise that maybe we thought at the very beginning of the playoffs. But all that said, I can't be responsible for the odds makers or how other people viewed this series. I said at the very beginning, if Giannis plays, I see the Bucks winning because I thought that they were the better team. I thought that the matchups favored them in spite of what anybody else said, in spite of whatever Chris Paul did in Game 6 against the Clippers or even Game 1 against the Bucks. When I think about disappointment, I think about the Clippers. I think about the Brooklyn Nets not staying healthy. I think about the Miami Heat, the defending Eastern Conference champions, getting swept in the first round. Those to me are disappointments because I look at them and I think you guys could have, should have been better than you actually were. Nikola Jokic as reigning MVP. I expected a little bit more. I just look at the Phoenix Suns. When I take a step back and I look at what they accomplished, I can't be disappointed because ultimately Chris Paul and the Phoenix Suns did more than I expected.
Here's where it starts and stops for me, Slick. If you don't even do what you do well, then I'm disappointed in you. And ultimately in the closeout game, Chris Paul had the fewest assists he's had all playoffs last night. If you don't even do what you do well, Slick, in the game of football, quarterback needs offensive line to protect for him, and he needs receivers to catch for him. But if you're the all-time leader in passing and you're playing in a Super Bowl, I'd hope you pass for a lot of yards. I would hope to see Tom Brady pass for a lot of yards. He needs a lot of help, but I would hope to see him pass for a lot of yards. You know the colloquial, it may be jovial, it may not be. You know what they say on the court, passer makes shooter. I'm not going to blame the Suns' lack of scoring on Chris Paul, but I'm saying, Slick, if you don't even do what you do well, in the biggest game, I have to be disappointed. I have to.
Does Chris Paul have control over DeAndre Ayton getting into foul trouble? Does Chris Paul have control over DeAndre Ayton clearly being disappointed in himself and not playing with the same energy? We could go and break down how many assists, how vital DeAndre Ayton in the two-man game was to Chris Paul's assist totals, and figure out how much of an influence that had. There were certain things that happened in this series and in these matchups that are beyond Chris Paul's control, including the fact that he was 36 years old and had to carry a weight that I dare say even Michael Jordan as a scorer didn't have to carry because he had Scottie Pippen next to him and Dennis Rodman next to him, and a system that worked a little bit better than what we saw the Phoenix Suns. Had a proven championship team around him ultimately. So I can't, the Chris Paul, Michael Jordan comparison to say that Chris Paul was a disappointment and somehow should have given me more. I saw 4 games, arguably 5 games, in which the Bucks demonstrated that they could make this series and the game different for Chris Paul. So the idea that he ultimately didn't figure that out in this situation, I can't be disappointed in it because it's what I anticipated once they took Drew Holiday, a first-team all-defensive player, and put him on Chris Paul.
Say it again, Slick Rick. I think Mark Jackson said it as well last night. Said it's going to take a second for the Phoenix Suns to feel this, but down the road, they'll realize that this was a great season, and they did overachieve. So it's time to turn that frown upside down if you're a Phoenix Suns fan. You got to judge a man by the road traveled. Acho, you keep forgetting that one. And look at the road that the Phoenix Suns traveled from a non-playoff team to where they were in Game 6 in the finals in less than 1 year. Respect that. Also respect that Chris Paul went out there and gave you more than Chris Paul normally gives you. I remind you, before the finals and all the other rounds, compared to the finals, he played 5 more minutes per game. You said, why weren't you out there and your tongue on the ground? Well, he kind of did that. 5 more minutes per game. 3 more points per game. Let's talk about his field goal percentage. Went up 8% in the finals. His three-point percentage went up 11%. And then you're going to try and nail him and say, well, if Jordan top 5 and you top 5, why aren't you doing the same? And I'm glad Slick just combated that, Ivy League, respect. Because scoring is an independent stat. I'm going to get mine. And assist is a dependent stat. I need you to help me get mine. But Acho, I know you're not into the music I'm into. I need to see your face right now. Because this song came on like 4 days ago. I like lifting weights to old school classics, you know what I mean, slow songs. You know, driving the Cutlass with your son and just take them around the neighborhood songs. And this song came up because it talks about timing. And in this situation, look at the timing when you're talking about the Phoenix Suns. You are my starship. Take me on a ride. He said this right here. He said, and don't be late, and don't you come too soon. I think it came too soon versus a team that was already ready-made. We'll see next year what Phoenix does. Baby, coming up, the Bucks won the title last night. I nailed that part. I don't know what y'all talking about. But are we witnessing the start of a dynasty? We'll answer that next. Don't speak for yourself. Dog, he said, don't be late and don't come too soon. The Bucks won their first NBA title in 50 years last night, and it does not look like an end is in sight. Giannis, Chris Middleton, and Drew Holiday, Drew down, all signed long-term, and the only free agent in their rotation is P.J. Clean Man Tucker. So Slick Rick is back, but Acho, are we witnessing the start of a Bucks dynasty?
No, we are not witnessing the start of a Bucks dynasty, but we are witnessing the start of a Giannis Antetokounmpo dynasty. Why do I say that? Because dynasties follow the best player in the league. Magic Johnson, the best player in the 80s, or argue Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. He won 5 chips in 9 years. Bird, he won 3 chips in 6 years. Okay, the best player in the 90s, Michael Jordan. We all know Jordan. He won 6 chips in 8 years. Dynasties follow the best player in the league. Okay, Shaquille O'Neal, let's talk about the 2000s. He won 4 chips in 7 years. Okay, if dynasties are following the best player in the league, let's follow Kobe Bryant. He became the best. He won 5 chips in 11 years. Dynasties follow the best player in the league, LeBron James. He won 4 chips in 9 years. So I can't speak for the Bucks. However, if Giannis is going to stay loyal to the Bucks, then it works for the Bucks as well. But we're witnessing the beginning of a Giannis Antetokounmpo dynasty because dynasties have forever followed the best player in basketball. And if Giannis is the best player in basketball, which I believe him to be, then a dynasty will follow him as well.
It almost sounds like you're hinting that Giannis Antetokounmpo is not long for Milwaukee. Is that
I heard that too.
Suggesting?
No, you missed my last sentence. You missed my last sentence.
But I heard it up to that.
If Giannis stays in Milwaukee, which he said he would, then it stays true that a Bucks dynasty is on the horizon as well. But I'm just saying where Giannis goes, chips go.
And I would even push back on that. Your stumping for your countrymen is just going a little too far.
Yes.
Nobody loves Giannis Antetokounmpo and what he has done more than I have. But let's try to keep the guardrails up, okay? We're flying off the mountain right now in terms of it's all Giannis all the time. May I remind you,
Please.
Giannis Antetokounmpo did not get this done until they traded for Drew Holiday and for P.J. Tucker. And we know the importance of Drew Holiday in particular in winning this championship. But to answer the question, first of all, we have to ask the question, what's a dynasty? Is it winning back-to-back titles? Is it multiple runs to the finals? I believe that the Milwaukee Bucks can win at least one more championship. because of the age of their stars. All of 30 or younger, Giannis, I would expect, is only going to improve. And most important, even though it's a small market and it's difficult to get free agents to go to places like Milwaukee if they have choices, the carrot is the way Giannis plays as a superstar. He makes other guys better, and he's a guy that doesn't have to dominate the ball in order to do it. All they need to do is find a steady diet of 3-and-D role players who decide, you know what? I'll go to Milwaukee for a year or two for a chance to play with Giannis and win a ring. That's the formula that's worked for LeBron James. Very similar in terms of being a very gracious and unselfish superstar. Giannis has the same DNA, which I believe will overcome whatever challenges Milwaukee has in terms of attracting guys there. I mentioned the billionaire owners. They're willing to spend the money. So depending on how we define dynasty, yes, I believe that dynasty is there's a time for a dynasty in Milwaukee right now. With Giannis Antetokounmpo being signed up, they're not trading him anyplace else, and they've got him signed up for the long term.
Yeah, look, they're not a dynasty starting in Milwaukee. I don't care how you define it. No, no, no. Last time we talked dynasty on this show, it was during football season, and we were out there predicting that the Chiefs were going to have a dynasty, and I kept pushing back on people. And that's a team that's been to 3 straight conference championships and won a Super Bowl. So by that definition, are we seeing a dynasty out of Milwaukee and the Bucks? Hell no. They won. They ain't even go to 3 straight conference championships. And 2, they only have 1 ring. And it's funny now, no one's talking about the Chiefs as a dynasty because they still only have 1 ring. So let's not get into this microwave mentality. As soon as it happens, prisoner of the moment. Oh, my God, how many are going to fall? How many dominoes? Maybe just 1, just like the Chiefs. So by that definition, I say no. 2, by the path that's in front of the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't know what time they went to bed this morning. Maybe they still haven't went to bed, but I know before they go to bed, they need to go to church. And thank God, boy, that path was smooth this year compared to what it's going to be next year. I'm not taking away from their championship. I'm just going to guarantee you the path is not going to be as smooth next year. Teams are going to retool. Teams are going to reimagine. Teams are going to repair themselves, and teams are going to be recharged. It's going to be different out there. So for you to think you're going to repeat, boy, stop. Let's talk about the teams that have repeated. Since 1999, 3 different teams have repeated. Tell me if you think that the Milwaukee Bucks sound like they are in the caliber of these teams. The Lakers did it twice, Shaq and Kobe, Kobe, Gasol. And then Miami did it, Bron and Wade. And then Golden State did it, KD and Steph. Man, stop. It's not a dynasty. Enjoy your championship. Enjoy your night that is probably still going on this morning and afternoon. But when you're done with that and praying, realize next year is going to be way more difficult.
I would want to agree with you all on logic, because on logic, I think you all are right. Okay. It's far-fetched to believe that the Bucks and Giannis isn't that good. Drew Holiday, nah. Chris Middleton, he's not even really a superstar. Like, just off our common knowledge of what we commonly believe about these players, it's very hard for them to have a dynasty. But Slick, defining dynasty is hard. Who's going to do it? I'll simply say if you win 30 to 40% of chips in 6 to 10 years, that's very dynastic to me. If you're winning 3 out of 6, 3 out of 7, 4 out of 9, that's dynastic to me. And the fact of the matter is, I just gave you all the stars, from Magic to Bird to Shaq to Kobe to LeBron to Jordan. The best players in the league, they all did that. Even the sub-best players in the league, Tim Duncan, won about 3 and 6 years. KD, he didn't meet the year threshold because he only played 3 years because he had too much tension with the Warriors, but he got him his 2 in his 3 years. Even Kawhi Leonard, if he stays healthy, maybe he would have achieved 3 and 6 or 7 years, but he did not stay healthy. Even the players that aren't the best in the league, but are still considered some of the best in the league, they acquire dynasties. So if Giannis is the best player in the league, and if he's not the best, he's at least the second best. We can agree on that, Marcellus. We can agree on that, Slick. Dynasties have historically forever followed those individuals. And because Giannis is currently one of those individuals, or that individual as the best in the league, a dynasty has to follow him. That's just what NBA history has shown us.
Marcellus, you make a fair argument when it comes to teams that we've seen repeat and have dynasties and who's at the top of that in comparison to the Milwaukee Bucks. It's fair. But I would disagree in terms of the path and what is there right now, particularly when I look at the Eastern Conference. Who is in the Eastern Conference right now that should scare the Milwaukee Bucks now that they have learned, now that they have that institutional knowledge of what it takes to win a championship? The Brooklyn Nets, do I expect them to be any healthier than they've been? They are very top heavy and with stars that do not stay healthy. The Atlanta Hawks, I'm sorry, but Trae Young, healthy, not healthy, I still think the Bucks ultimately are a better team. And now that they know what it takes to win a championship, that's only going to make them more challenging. Even in the Western Conference, where is that team, that dynastic team, or that team that's on the rise that is ready to knock the Bucks off? That's why I believe, again, depending on how we define dynasty, the Bucks certainly have the wherewithal to repeat or win another championship in the next 2 years. Beyond that, then the challenges of being in a small market and the salary cap and everything that comes along with being a successful franchise is going to come to bear on the Bucks.
Man, every producer that works at Fox was in my ear. Colvin, Heller, they were like, boy, Slick said top heavy, like that's a bad thing. Boy, that's a wild way of saying you hella good. Let's talk about the champions from last year. Were they top heavy? Yeah, you got LeBron and AD. How about the Lakers when they used to win before when they had Shaq and Kobe? Oh, that's top heavy.
Were they
what
top
about
heavy
the
this year?
Warriors when they got KD and Steph and Clay? Oh, that's top heavy.
Lakers were top heavy.
The Brooklyn Nets top heavy? And they're a big toe away from not even talking about Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks right now. I'm not even going to go there, but that's the road ahead next year. If you're just going to bank on injuries, that's not the best thing to take to the bank. And the Hawks, look, now they got the coach. Now let's see if they can stay healthy, but that's a young team that already took Milwaukee to 6 games in the Eastern Conference Finals. Don't forget the Bucks had the
without Giannis.
7th. Okay, hey, without Trae Young. Hey, you want to keep going? They had the 7th best record in the NBA this season. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Milwaukee this season. And then teams got hurt. We saw what happened. The Nets lost Kyrie, and hobbled James Harden. And then Trae Young goes down as well. Man, look, I'm not wishing him any ill, but you can't also say that your fortune is going to be greater because you're wishing ill on other teams that got injured last year. I don't think the future is going to be the same if you're a Bucks fan. Coming up, Giannis dropped 50 last night. I mean, 5-0. But did he prove he's the best player in the world? We answer that with Slick. That's next on Speak for Yourself.
Giannis dominated last night, finishing with 50 points, 14 boards, 5 blocks to help bring a title to Milwaukee for the first time in 50 years. Now, Giannis was also named Finals MVP after averaging over 35 points per game in the series. So, Slick Rick, me and Marcellus already did a couple rounds, but got to tag you in, see where you land. Did Giannis prove he's the best player in the world?
I'm okay with saying that he proved that he's the best player in the world, as long as we look at it and say that he's the best in a way that I don't know that we've ever seen before, or certainly haven't seen in the last 10, 15 years. If we want to talk about who's the best as far as who has the greatest skills, who's the most talented, then you could make an argument for Kevin Durant. You could make an argument for Kawhi Leonard. But I would ask you, with either one of those players, are they better leaders than Giannis Antetokounmpo? Are they better defenders than Giannis Antetokounmpo, who can legitimately guard 1 through 5? Are they better Euro steppers and finishers at the rim than Giannis Antetokounmpo?
Now you talking.
No. Are they better shooters? Yes. Do they have better handles? You could make the case, sure. Are they better passers? Yeah, we could debate that as well. Steph Curry. I mean, you can go to a number of guys and say they are more skilled. But when I look at what Giannis did, what he accomplished, and his impact on the game, and I don't try to fit it into boxes and categories in a traditional sense of what we consider the skills of the NBA, and simply a matter of, is he the best? Is he the most dominant? Then I can't help but say that Giannis Antetokounmpo right now is the most dominant and therefore the best player in the NBA.
I know why you didn't say that with your chest. Acho and I were up here having a little fun with you, and I kept hitting you with that boogaloo shrimp. Look at that. Look at that. I can still make it pop. You didn't say it with your chest, Slick Rick, because you didn't believe nothing you just said. Sometimes the pen just takes over. It just writes for you. And then you say, oh, I'm going to go on air right now. I got to say what I just wrote. But, boy, if I hear you, first of all, it's Kevin Durant. You know why? Because Giannis even said it when he played against Kevin Durant. He said, no, that's the best player in the world. So I'm going to let...
I heard your first take on that.
Did you hear Giannis when he said it? Because all I did was say what Giannis said. The pen took over. So here's the thing.
J-Rose.
I know, right. Hey, you want some of this? Jalen Rose, Big Perk, we can do it. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, all y'all need to stop. At least invite me to the party if y'all going to bag on each other. All right. I love the fact that you said he's a better leader. Forget traditional stats and like he's a better shooter. Udonis Haslem is a better leader than a lot of players out there, but since the other players are better shooters, we know about those players more. So you said who's the better Euro stepper? Who gives a damn how you get to the basket? Kevin Durant don't have to Euro step. He does, but he doesn't have to because he can bang him from 35. Can Giannis bang him from 35? You already heard me, so I don't even know where I should go. Stat for stat, even blocks. Kevin Durant is better than Giannis. Oh, how do you get there? So, Slick, and buttoning it up, let me say this. You gave me the argument that I hate when I go to somebody's house. Someone affluent, someone who's fancy, someone who passes the Grey Poupon. They start, you walk around their house and they just waiting for you to give them a compliment. I'm like, I've seen nice houses before, but now I know that you want me to give you a compliment, so I'm going to keep it to myself. And then they say, oh, did you see that rug over there? Do you see that painting? That Bernard of blah, de blah. And then I'm like, oh. And then they're like, well, it costs, it's from, it is. And if you got to do all that, Euro stepping, better leader, all that, then guess what? It ain't that valuable to me. It needs to pop. It needs to jump out if you want me to fully respect it.
Fellas, it's simple and Slick. I liked your take, but I didn't like how you gave it to us, Slick. You tiptoed. I didn't like all that, Slick. Just dive into the water with your boy. I'm already in the pool swimming, but I got my floats on so I don't drown. Giannis is the best player in the world, and he proved it to us. You all keep talking about shooting. What is to shoot? To shoot is to get the ball into the basket. When we say shooting, it's as if like a turnaround fadeaway is of more worth than a layup. Giannis was 16 for 25 in the most important game of his life. That's shooting well to me. So when y'all say that another player is a better shooter, maybe he's a prettier shooter. Maybe he's a more prolific in style shooter. But statistically, Giannis is just as good or efficient a shooter as any other shooter, because to shoot is to attempt to score a goal. And Giannis does that very well. So when we talk about who's a better shooter, Giannis is just as good a shooter. But beyond all that, Giannis accomplished what everybody else wanted to accomplish, and he just did it better than everybody else. Best player in the world. KD had a phenomenal game. Game 5, Eastern Conference Finals. Giannis had a phenomenal game. Game 6, Eastern Conference Semifinals, KD. Giannis, Game 6, NBA Finals. It's different, y'all. You can't even compare them. KD was the best player on that day. KD might have been the best player over the course of the first 6 games of that series. But Giannis is the best player in the world because the best player in the world beats the best team playing their best. And the Suns were the best team playing at their best, and they couldn't stop him. Last thing I'm going to say is this.
Stop lying.
We sleep on Giannis scoring 50, right? We talk about Giannis as a limited scorer. It's hard to score 50 at any league, in any time, in any place. I saw a person in high school score 50 points one time. Brandon Jennings ends up being, I think, the number 10 or 11 overall pick in the first round to the Milwaukee Bucks. It's the only time I ever saw somebody score 50 in high school. Giannis just scored 50, not in an NBA game, not in an NBA playoff game, not in an NBA Finals game, in a closeout game of the NBA Finals. So you could argue that Giannis is just as good a scorer as anybody. He also won Defensive Player of the Year, so you could not argue that Giannis is a better defender than anybody. So if you're a better defender than everybody else, and you've scored just as many, if not more points than anybody in the last 60 years in the biggest game of the sport in which you play, you could argue you're just as good a scorer as anybody. Giannis is the best player in the world.
Okay, you guys hurt me. You hurt me. Because I've seen you guys half-step And it bothered me.
Call
and so
your
I
foul
understand how
when you call
me
foul.
half-stepping might have bothered you.
Call
So
your
let me
foul.
be clear.
Call your foul.
Giannis Antetokounmpo is the best player in the NBA right
love
now.
that.
Because
Should
there's
love that.
only one player right now who is the Finals MVP and the champion. And we can break down. The reason I went a little soft is because so much of it is intangibles. We can break down how Giannis got there and how it's different from what KD does or how how they won their championships. But the bottom line is he did what was necessary in order for them to win a championship. And particularly if we're talking about Game 6, you can't look at anybody else on that Milwaukee Bucks team and say that they were the reason that the Milwaukee Bucks won. Every other guy was shook for practically 3 quarters in that game. And the only guy holding it together at both ends of the floor was Giannis Antetokounmpo. So we can break down. You can talk about KD hitting 35-footers. Did the 35-footers ultimately get him to the finals? Did his three-point shooting get him past the Bucks? No. Toe on the line or not. The fact of the matter is KD's skills were not enough for him to get past the Milwaukee Bucks. Whereas Giannis Antetokounmpo's skills and ability, defensive, otherwise, leadership, go down the line, was enough to get the Milwaukee Bucks not just to the finals, but past Chris Paul and the Phoenix Suns. So you have to give me a reason why I should believe that Kevin Durant or Kawhi Leonard or Steph Curry or any other player is better than Giannis right now.
Right here, right now. Well, you want some reasons? Here's some reasons.
I just want one.
I'll give you a few. Let's just talk about this entire postseason because, boy, you guys are prisoner of the moments right now. Only one right now. Okay, let's look at the top 8 scorers this postseason. And let's start at the bottom, because Giannis is not at the bottom. Oh, yes, he is. He's number 8. Let's go Ja Morant. Since his team could survive. Kawhi Leonard, Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, Damian Lillard, Kevin Durant, number 2, and Luka. I ain't going to stop there. I just started there. I saved my best for last. Let's talk about Giannis and his 50-piece. That was amazing. I'm going to say it again. That was amazing. But we have seen that before in the NBA Finals. But what you haven't seen in postseason history is KD, when in 2019, only player ever averaging 30-plus on 50, 40, 90. Okay, I'm not done. Let's talk about right now, since your argument is based on this. Since he's the Finals MVP who put up a 50-piece, and being the Finals MVP, that means he's the best player on the planet. And I remind you that doesn't always mean just that. Remember where Iguodala was the Finals MVP? Let me stop. Kawhi in San Antonio? Let me stop. Tony Parker? Stop. Chauncey Bill? Let me stop. So hold on. He wasn't in the conversation before because he even said, I'm not in the conversation as Kevin Durant. I've played against him. Kevin Durant, when he faced Giannis, oh my God, head-to-head in the conference semis, Kevin Durant had more points per game, more assists. Kevin Durant, 7-footer, whatever. 3-point percentage, free throw percentage, steals. Big old dude stealing the ball and blocks. But y'all gonna give me some evidence that doesn't add up, except it just happened last night. Coming up, the Suns fell short on winning a title. We'll tell you how much of the Finals loss falls on Chris Paul. Don't do it to CP3. That's next on Speak for Yourself. No, y'all right. Tony Parker was the best. Chris Paul was not able to add an NBA title to his resume, and in the process, he became the first player in NBA history to lose 4 playoff series after being up 2-0. Monty Williams said after the game, quote, "It's laughable when you talk about guys like Chris who had these unreal careers, and yet they get penalized because they haven't won a title." So, Acho, how much is the Finals loss on Chris Paul?
Without saying all of it. All of it? Yeah. Sal, to whom much is given, much is required. Now, it's not literally all on Chris Paul. 10 players on the court. Chris Paul played well. But I was the type of dude in my playing career, at least college, that's when I was the most dominant over my athletic career, where Even if we lost a game and it wasn't my fault, I'm going to the podium as the best player on the team or the best player on the defense, at least one of the best two players on the defense, to say, it's on me, because I could have done more. No, it wasn't my fault that our offense had 5 turnovers in a game. But in theory, if our offense can have 5 turnovers, then I can force 5 turnovers. That's just my train of thought.
Your mindset.
My senior night, we lose to Kansas State. We only allowed 117 total yards. You play defense. You allow 117 total yards in the game, you should have won.
Y'all should have won that.
We lost on senior night. My last game in my Memorial Stadium. Maybe 17-14, 17-13.
Oh, come on.
Offense had like 4 or 5 turnovers. But I went to the podium and I said, it's my fault. Because if y'all can turn the ball over 5 times, I can create 5 turnovers. If Giannis can score 50 points, Chris Paul, you can too. If Giannis can score 50 points and assist on 3 or 4 times and contribute to 58 or so points, Chris Paul, you can too between your scoring and your assisting. Chris Paul, you dropped 41 points closeout game against the Clippers. You dropped 37 points closeout game against the Nuggets. So it's not like you can't put up buckets. You could have had a historical night. It's not like you're incapable. Nobody said, Giannis, you're the one that has to do it. He just did it. So the reason I'm putting it all on Chris Paul isn't because it's all Chris Paul's fault, but to whom much is given, much is required. And Chris Paul, you've been given a lot. In theory, future Hall of Famer. In actuality, a whole bunch of money. For that reason, and just that's how I live my personal life, I got to give you those expectations.
Oh, man, you're too hard on yourself. That's what it is. And that's part of why you're so driven and you've gotten here so fast and you continue your meteoric rise. However, I don't know how much you really appreciate the journey traveled so far.
Real. That's real.
I'm going to make you cry if you keep one more that's real. You're going to be like, damn, I love you, Wiley. You're more than a co-host. Look, since I love you, I also love Chris Paul. And, man, this is not on Chris Paul. Chris Paul actually did more of Chris Paul than he normally does in a playoff series. I continue to highlight that we saw 5 more minutes per game out of Chris Paul in the finals than we did the entire postseason. That's not on Chris Paul. He tried. He was certainly out there giving himself chances and opportunity. 3 more points per game. Okay, people say that's not efficient. 8% more in field goal percentage and 11% higher. He shot 52% from 3 in the finals compared to 41% all other rounds. So what are we doing? Everyone gonna say assists. Okay, 1, that's a dependent stat, but 2, it was basically comparable the same, 8.7 to 8.2 per game. Y'all better stop with this. This is what's going on with Chris Paul. Oh, man, and this happens a lot in sports. Those miscues, we have now found something we can hook you to in terms of a miscue, in terms of something that can become a meme, something that we can say, those plays right there are lowlights. Game 4, Chris Paul, nobody touched you. Why you turn the ball over? People will put that entire game on Chris Paul, even though it wasn't on Chris Paul. Game 5. Why'd you foul Giannis when he's going for the dunk? Because now you're not down 3 at the free throw line. You're down 4, 2-possession game, not enough time left. So people are putting all of this on Chris Paul. But this is an age-old thing that happens in sports.
Here's my thing, though, Sel. Giannis went into the game the 2nd worst free throw shooter in finals history.
Oh, I know where you're going.
Finals history.
Say it, brother.
He went into the game the 2nd worst free throw shooter in finals history, only worse than Shaquille O'Neal in the last 60 years prior to Wilt Chamberlain playing. Wilt Chamberlain's in that conversation as well.
Don't bring up my free throws.
But in the biggest game of Giannis's life, he was the best free throw shooter in NBA finals history with a minimum of 19 attempts, shooting 89.5%. So what Giannis is actually the worst at,
I give you that.
in the biggest game of his life, he became the best at. Chris Paul, historically, you are top 5 all-time in steals. However, in the series, you were the 5th best player on your own team in steals. Historically, you're top 5 all-time in assists. However, last game, closeout game, you were 3rd on the court in assists, behind the other team's point guard, the other team's shooting guard, and you're small forward. So if Giannis can go from being the worst to the best in the biggest moment, then my expectation is for Chris Paul, who is as good as Giannis in the context of NBA basketball, to also be able to go from whatever his worst is to his best, or at a minimum, whatever his best is to even greater. That's really how I look at it. So, like,
but
I'm not mad at your take at all, and you're right. My expectation is higher.
He did. He got better in the finals than he was than every other round combined. Like the Lakers, he started low. Like people forget that. And then you, obviously the injury, then you see him in Denver, he's high. And then the Clippers was a roller coaster ride. But he leveled all that out and became more than in the finals. But I want to bring up some of the lowlights because I've seen this happen too many times, not to me necessarily, to teammates and to other people I respected in the game in other sports. I call them sports boo-boos. And it's the two boos because it's boo-boo, Game 4 and Game 5 for Chris Paul. That's going to make Acho, the harsh critic, exaggerate how bad he was. Let's go back to 2018. You remember in the NBA Finals when J.R. Smith, oh, God, he dribbled away the final seconds of Game 1 versus the Warriors. Game 1. And people act like he lost the series. It's all on JR. See your face? Boo-boo.
He caused LeBron to punch himself, punch the thing, broke his hand, and...
Oh, LeBron's hand was broke? Okay. That's a whole nother topic. LeBron be having some fake injuries. All right, 2006 wildcard game. Remember this? I was there, actually, covering this game. Tony Romo botched the snap, 19-yard game-winning field goal. Yeah, probably owe him. But the point is, that's boo-boo, boo! But that's a good one. 2011, we got a few more. Lee Evans, remember when he dropped that pass, almost beating the Patriots? How about Brandon Bostic for the Packers on that onside? All you gotta do is hold the damn ball. Okay, let's go. Scott Norwood, wide right. Chris Webber. All right, let's go to break. Okay, coming up, LeBron is still in the league, but Giannis is the current champ. We'll tell you if it's Giannis's league now. Acho Shoes about to make an appearance again. That's next on Speak for Yourself.
Speak for Yourself. Giannis is a two-time NBA MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. And now we can call him NBA champion. Giannis was also named Finals MVP after dropping 50 points last night and averaging over 35 points per game in the series. Now, Magic Johnson tweeted after the game, quote, "Watch out, LeBron, KD, and Giannis are right there coming for your throne," close quote. So, Sel, is the NBA officially Giannis's league?
No, Magic just said they're coming, but they're not there. And he actually had the names wrong. KD should be looking out for LeBron going away and Giannis coming his way. It's okay, though. Magic's on vacation. At least it looked like every time I look at his Instagram, God, did you see the boat?
He was on like a $350 million yacht.
That's what it was. The back of that yacht looked like an entire building. I was like, is that a yacht? Woo, Magic got that dope. That's my dog, too. Love him. All right, here's the thing. This is not Giannis's league right now. First, let me use why I think people are even trying to profess this, because he just won a championship. He dropped a 50-piece. Okay, so when you win a championship, everyone says it's your league. Now, I remind you, in the last 22 years, only 3 teams have ever repeated. So the chances of them repeating are slim to none. Let's talk about this. The last 5 years, which teams have won championships, and has it been their league? Okay, the Lakers. They won a championship last year. Is it their league? Then they lose in the first round. Boy, stop. Toronto, is it their... Kawhi left, and then they just struggled their way. What about the Warriors? They have 2 in the last 5. Is it still their league? Playing game, losers. The point is, y'all need to calm down. Party tonight, party last night, party all day long. But after that, stop partying and start thinking. This is not going to continue. No dynasty, and no, it's not Giannis's or the Bucks league now.
It is Giannis's league, and I'm going to simplify it, and I think you'll love my take. Now, there's a difference between it being somebody's league and them being the face of the league. Let's be abundantly clear.
Facts.
But it's Giannis's league, and here is why. In order to win a title, it will either be Giannis or you will have to go through Giannis. It was LeBron James' league. Why? Because every year, the most mind-blowing stat that I've ever seen, every year since 2007 that LeBron James has been healthy, he has either been in the finals or you have had to beat him to go to the finals.
I love that.
2007, Bron was in the finals. 08, it was the Celtics. They beat LeBron. 09, it was the Magic. They beat LeBron. 10, it was the Celtics. They beat LeBron. 11, 12, 13, 14, LeBron was in the finals with the Heat. 15, LeBron was in the finals. 16, 17, 18, LeBron was in the finals. 19, Bron gets hurt. 20, LeBron's in the finals. 21, the Suns had to beat the finals, beat LeBron to get to the finals. You have had to beat LeBron to get there, or LeBron was going to get there himself. I think that's now what it will be with Giannis. Either Giannis is going to get there, or you will have to beat Giannis to get there. Giannis is now the gatekeeper for NBA championships, and for that reason, I think it's Giannis's league.
Man, stop it.
Coming up,
Look,
the Bucks are NBA champs. We've told you that a lot today. But we'll tell you what was the most impressive part of the title run. That's next. Speak for yourself.
All right, I'm going to do my take during the commercial break. The Bucks won their first NBA title in 50 years last night, and they had some obstacles along the way. Milwaukee beat the Nets in 7 games in the conference semis, and they were down 0-2 in the finals. The Bucks went on to win 4 straight and have a shiny new trophy to show for it. So, Acho, what was most impressive about the Bucks' finals run?
Most impressive thing about their finals run was their final game. There's a lot of things we could go back to. Oh, they beat the Nets, blah, blah, blah. Their final game led by their final star. We've praised Giannis a lot today. We only got about 7-8 more minutes to do so. But the fact that Giannis scored 48% of his team's points.
Yeah, that's big.
Like, the only player that's ever done more than that in a closeout game is Michael Jordan. Like, Giannis in a clinching game, big dog, had 48% of his team's point. But even more than that, Sel, what I think is so impressive is Giannis outplayed the other 2 teams' best stars combined. Like, Book and CP3 collectively didn't have the impact that Giannis did. So not only did Giannis say, you know what? I'm going to go be better than their best. He said, I'm going to go be better than their 2 best. And that, to me, is more impressive than anything. Beating Kevin Durant and them, it was impressive. But like you said, a lot of the Nets were hurt. Kevin Durant, if his toe's not on the line, different story, blah, blah, blah. But what Giannis did in his first NBA Finals, and because I might not get the baton back. So, if all honesty, the biggest thing, going 17 for 19 from the free throw line. 2 days ago, we came on the show, and I said Marcellus Chris Paul shouldn't have trash-talked Giannis about them free throws.
Oh, you did.
Saturday night, Chris Paul said, I was expecting Giannis to miss. Giannis was expecting him to miss. And I said, Sel, he shouldn't have done that. Marcellus made a good point. Yeah. Athletes are always going 100%. What, is Giannis going to go 110%? It's not possible. I said, yeah, but athletes aren't always as locked in as we think. They're not always going 100%. I refuse to believe that Giannis had his best free throw shooting game of his career, of his 8-year career. So roughly 82 times 8, what is that? Roughly 1,000 games, give or take. The best game of his career coming after the time in which he was trash-talked by the other team's superstar. To me, that was what was most.
Damn, you had a math equation in there, and Heller was talking to me. I was about to try to do that, show my Columbia.
What'd you say? 600? It would be like, what, 640 games?
No, I didn't want you to do it again because I probably didn't know the first time.
82 times 8.
Oh, really? That was an amazing take that came back, and you were right. Coincidence, not causation. I'm with you on that one. For me, it's the same reason why we're successful, why anyone's successful. As they say, attitude determines altitude. The attitude of this team as a collective, especially Giannis, imagine this, your attitude after you sweep the Miami Heat in the first round. And that's the same team that was in the finals last year. You can easily take your foot off the gas or think this road's going to be easy, and it wasn't. Then you get down 0-2 against the Nets, down 3-2 to the Nets, then 0-1 to the Hawks, and you're still 0-2 to the Suns. This team had an attitude, man. They were already tough because they had been through the rigors. They had been through the wars and came up short. Then they added toughness. You had Drew Holiday, Drew down, and we know how tough he is, especially defensively. And then P.J. Tucker midseason, boy, the tougher got tougher, and they won the war of attrition. I got to give y'all props. Even though I'm upset, my Clippers, we disappointed. It's looking good for the Bucks out there, just not a dynasty. Coming up, one person who was very happy about the Bucks win last night, Aaron Rodgers. There he is. We'll answer an interesting scenario on the Packers quarterback. That's next on Speak for Yourself. Tough Man Edition.
Aaron Rodgers' future with the Packers is up in the air, but we know he's happy about the Bucks because Rodgers is a co-owner of the team, and he sent out a series of tweets last night congratulating his squad. He even praised their front office. So, Sel, what's more likely, the Bucks to repeat or Aaron Rodgers starts week 1 in Green Bay?
No, Aaron Rodgers being there in week 1 in Green Bay. Oh, man, what if Aaron Rodgers just doesn't want to be in Green Bay? Because, new relationships. I've been there before, Aaron. You're engaged right now. I've been engaged 4 times. And, a little pillow talk. Baby, you got to be in Green Bay? And he like, do I? She's like, you Aaron Rodgers, you go wherever you want to go. And I think it may be fueling this because I know when all the dust settles, he'll be there week 1.
I'm going Bucks repeat because Aaron Rodgers ain't going to be there week 1. I do wonder, though, so I've always wondered, do you count the last engagement? Because you got married the last time. So I'm always confused, like I'm engaged 4 times. But like the last time
Why
I
you put my business all out in the street?
You put it out there.
Oh, I did? Okay, yeah, I do count the last one because she's the one.
I like you got engaged 3 times and married once.
That's all you know. I got more to tell you. We got to work longer together. Fox Bet Live is next. Oh, I got some issues.